Sanga jumps into the mess with insane speed. She moves like an overzealous arrow shot by someone who clearly watched too many action movies. The poor fools below don't even have a chance to blink before she's in the air. All they get is a quick flash of her shadow, and if they're lucky, a brief glimpse of her shiny daggers. She drops from above like a deadly meteor. Then, as if she's done it a million times before, glowing threads appear out of nowhere, wrapping around their necks and limbs like they're just waiting for a very bad time. Panic sets in as they realize they're already in a death trap. Eyes wide, they exchange looks, probably wondering why they decided to fight someone who apparently forgot to show mercy. In one fluid motion, Sanga tugs on the threads and it's over. Heads roll, limbs drop like they're going out of style, and the crowd of enemies is reduced to what can only be described as a bloody mess. It's like a horror movie, but way less fun. Dokja and his buddy just stand there, probably wondering what they've gotten themselves into. This isn't the Sanga they used to know. She's still graceful, but now she's got the kind of precision and power that would make anyone second-guess their life choices. Dokja can barely wrap his head around it. He's known her forever, and yet the woman in front of him is practically a stranger. The power, the confidence, everything's on another level. He can't even figure out how she got this strong. Junjuk, who seems to have a knack for always being the observer, casually points out that Sanga grew stronger while Dokja was off doing well, whatever it is Dokja does. Apparently, Ilsang managed to level up too. Dokja tries to sound all casual, claiming it was his early guidance that gave Sanga the chance to get so powerful, but you can almost hear the frustration simmering underneath. Watching her fight so ruthlessly without him makes him wonder if he was ever useful at all. Sanga keeps cutting her way through the enemies, her daggers singing a deadly tune. Finally, Dokja calls out to her, probably because he's tired of watching people die in creative ways. She stops mid-swing, surprised by the sound of his voice, like she didn't know he could form words in the chaos. She starts to speak, but he cuts her off. There's no time for the sappy reunion nonsense. He's straight to the point. They'll talk later, after they've made it out of this mess. Jungyuk, who must think he's the captain now, orders them to head to a high-rise for a better view. Because apparently, higher ground is always the answer. Dokja doesn't hesitate, he just yells for everyone to move. As they prepare to leave, Junjuk, the ever-vigilant sage, warns Dokja to be careful with Sanga. Oh sure, like Dokja didn't know that already. He pauses, trying to figure out if he should be more cautious with the woman who can cut people down without breaking a sweat or the one who's still standing around making vague threats. Jungyuk says nothing more, and they rush into the building. Monsters, probably late to the party, swarm in after them. They barely make it in time. Dokja looks at Sanga. She seems a bit tired, but still calm. He asks if she's okay. She says she's fine and asks about him. He says he's fine too. For a moment, they stand in awkward silence. It feels strange. Just a few days ago, they were separated. But now everything feels off. Dokja looks at Sanga again. She's wearing proper gear like she's been through a lot of battles already. She moves with confidence way more than before. She glances at Jungyuk, who's still recovering in silence. Then she turns to Dokja, saying he looks like he's been through a lot too. Dokja nods. He can't argue with that. Sanga tells him what happened when she woke after being transported. She ended up in Gandong-go with Gong Pildu. Dokja is surprised. Pildu is the last person he expected to hear about. Sanga says Pildu helped her a lot, and those words hit Dokja unexpectedly. It's not just what she says, but how she says it. She talks about Pildu so casually, so comfortably. Dokja realizes that in the days they were apart, Sanga and Pildu have grown close. Dokja asks where Pildu is now. Sanga explains they got separated during a fight with the Gangdong-go group. Pildu tried to save her, drawing the enemies away toward the Han River. Her voice softens, guilt in her eyes as she recalls the moment. Dokja is shocked. It's hard to believe that someone like Pildu, one of the 10 evils, would risk his life for someone else. Dokja remembers something important. The contract with the defense master is still active, so Pildu must be alive. If Pildu were dead, Dokja would have noticed the consequences of the contract. Deep down, Dokja is sure that Pildu has survived. He reassures Sanga that Pildu will be fine, and for a moment, relief crosses her face. Though it's brief. Dokja then asks about her new gear, the combat knife, and the upgraded clothing. Sanga hesitates before telling him that she found a green meteorite after getting separated, and it granted her those rare items. Dokja's mind races. A green meteorite is no small thing. It's a rare event that often holds a powerful loot. The fact that she found one so early means she's been incredibly lucky. Dokja can't help but feel a bit jealous. He knows how valuable those items are. But then Suyang speaks up, her tone suspicious. She questions whether Sanga is telling the full story. Suyang argues that those items alone couldn't have made someone so strong so quickly, even with special growth packages. She demands to know who Sanga's supporting constellation is and how she leveled up so fast. Sanga is taken aback. She freezes for a moment, eyes wide. When Suyang reveals herself as the first disciple, It hits Sanga like a punch to the gut. Memories she buried deep come rushing back. She recalls the horror at Chungmuro Station, the mass slaughter, the blood, and the terror. Suyong and her group killed countless innocent people without a second thought. And now, here's Suong, standing in front of her, smiling without any sign of remorse. Rage takes over Sanga. She doesn't hesitate. Her daggers are out in a flash, her hands trembling with fury. She's ready to strike, but before she can, Dokja shouts for her to stop. His voice cuts through the tension like a blade. Sanga turns to him, disbelief and anger in her eyes. She demands to know why he's defending Suyong. To her, it looks like Dokja and Suyong are allies now. Dokja tries to explain, but Sanga isn't buying it. Her voice shakes, not from fear, but from fury and betrayal. She reminds Dokja of what Suyong did at Chungmuro, the bloodbath, the innocent lives lost. And now, Dokja wants her to forget all that. Dokja watches the growing tension between Sanga and Suyong. His thoughts drift to the past. He remembers how Sanga became the second in command of the Chungmuro group when he was away. She wasn't just a leader, she was deeply connected to the people in that group. Suyong, however, seems completely unfazed. She looks at Sanga with mock amusement and turns toward Dokja, tossing careless words his way. Suyong admits her own faults without hesitation but urges Dokja to judge wisely. She hints that Sanga is hiding something important. Sanga grits her teeth, struggling to keep her anger in check, but Suyong keeps going. She brings up Chungmuro again, claiming that Sanga wasn't nearly as strong back then. Her sudden growth feels unnatural, even with a powerful constellation. Suyong speculates that if Sanga had an SSS-grade growth skill, that might explain it, but such skills are incredibly rare. Almost no constellation in Korea has the power to provide something like that. Dokja doesn't want to believe it. He wants to trust Sanga completely, but when he saw her skillfully using the magic thread earlier, he started to question things. He thought her constellation might be Ariadne, the lover of the abandoned labyrinth. That would explain the thread. But there's one problem: Ariadne isn't strong enough to make someone grow that quickly. And Sanga's movements remind him of the stigma known as Hermes' stroll. But if she really is connected to Ariadne, then why can she use the power of Hermes? The contradictions are impossible to ignore. Before Dokja can think any further, a voice interrupts. The air shifts and strange energy pulses around them. It's a playful voice, creepy, but with a dangerous edge. It mocks everyone for getting too excited, even though the next scenario hasn't started yet. The voice belongs to one of the Dokubis, who is clearly enjoying their impatience. He explains that the original Dokubi in charge is missing, so he thought about taking it easy. But now, things are different. Dokja looks up, his eyes wide in alarm. Sparks are crackling, and waves of energy tear the air like a bad storm that wasn't invited. A group of Dokubis appears from a rift, including Byong, a mid-level Dokubi, and two others. One of them stands out, Dokak. He's clearly in charge. With all the flair of a poorly written villain, Dokak announces that since everyone's so eager to see chaos, how could he possibly resist granting their wish? Then, the dreaded message they were all secretly hoping to avoid pops up like a bad text from an ex. A new sub-scenario has started. Stop the Catastrophe. A mysterious group from Gangdong-go is trying to awaken one of the catastrophes, and surprise, it's up to them to stop it. Dokja's heart is pounding in his chest like he just drank 5 cups of coffee and forgot to breathe. His worst fears are becoming reality. The catastrophes are nearly ready to hatch. The sub-scenario confirms it. It's like the universe couldn't wait to throw more problems at him. If they're tasked with stopping the catastrophe, then the Poison Beauties group must be assigned to protect it. Fantastic. Time is ticking, and they've got a race against the clock. Dokja, ever the multitasker, turns to Sanga and Suong. He knows this isn't the time to bicker like teenagers. They need to work together now or risk everyone dying in a catastrophic event that could have been avoided if they just communicated. He lays out the situation in record time. The sub-scenario has a 2-hour deadline, which means they've got 2 hours before the catastrophe is born. The first priority: stop it. The Poison Beauties group is in the Chunhodong area of Gangdong-go, filled with churches and catacombs, perfect for defending a secret location. So, naturally they'll be difficult to get to. Meanwhile, the northern and northeastern zones near Chunjong-ro are less developed. That's where they can make their move. Sure, it'll be heavily guarded, but it's still the best chance they have. Dokja looks at Sanga and Suyong and, with all the leadership charisma of a tired office manager, tells them to lead the way. The air between them is thick with tension, probably more awkward than a family reunion at a funeral, but he needs them to put their petty squabbles aside. For now, teamwork is the only thing standing between them and certain doom. Without missing a beat, Sanga and Suyong nod and step forward like they were already planning to make a dramatic exit. They jump off the high-rise building in unison, their descent flawless, almost like a slow-motion scene that no one asked for. They land with perfect precision, and for a moment, it's like they're starring in their own action movie. Meanwhile, the Poison Beauties are so caught off guard, it's almost embarrassing. In the chaos, Dokja slides off the rooftop like he's trying to show off his ninja skills and joins the fight. Seong doesn't waste any time. She activates her skill avatar, and suddenly there are a dozen of her running around the street like she's auditioning a part in a magic show. Each avatar moves fast and looks lifelike enough to fool anyone. The enemy group, clearly not the sharpest tools in the shed, they panics. They're under a full-scale attack, chasing after the avatars like dogs chasing cars. They have no idea they've already stepped into a trap, and it's almost painful to watch them fall for it. And without warning, the battlefield is suddenly filled with nearly invisible threads. Sanga has set them up, thin and deadly, stretching across the path. The enemies charge forward, totally oblivious, and then, bam! Screams fill the air as legs are sliced clean through. Some of them drop like flies, only to be hit again and again. Another thread activates with brutal precision. As bodies crumple to the ground, heads go flying. This is less of a trap and more of a slaughterhouse designed for maximum efficiency. The ground quickly becomes a grotesque canvas painted in blood. Dokja, still somehow shocked by the sheer cruelty, takes a moment to catch his breath, but Sanga doesn't even blink. Despite the brief, useless exchange between them, they push on. Dokja watches as these two, Sanga and Seong, do the impossible work together. It's baffling. They can't stop arguing long enough to breathe. But when it comes to killing, they're like a well-oiled machine. Together, they carve through the enemy like they're slicing through butter. Thanks to their cooperation, Dokja moves through the enemy base without triggering a single alarm. It's almost like he's a ninja, if ninjas wore ridiculous amounts of armor and tripped over their own feet. It doesn't take long for Dokja to reach the heart of the base. There, in the center, stands a meteorite, a massive chunk of cosmic rock towering over 8 meters high. It radiates an aura so dark and ominous, it feels like it's sucking the joy out of everything around it. Being near it is like standing under the oppressive weight of impending doom. And of course, standing beside it is Poison Salwa, one of the 10 evils herself. Her snow-white hair is so bright it could blind someone, and her pale skin is almost ghostly, though those red lips of hers look like they belong in a vampire movie. She's cold, detached, and probably only smiles when things go horribly wrong. Her glassy eyes hide a dangerous, unpredictable spirit beneath the calm. She's the perfect picture of, "Don't mess with me unless you want to die." Dokja assesses the situation with the precision of a man who knows he's out of his league, but is too stubborn to back down. There are 3 ways the meteorite could hatch. The first is the natural way, letting the scenario run its course until the timer runs out. The second is to use the meteorite's power, borrowing its energy. But the third method, the most direct, and of course, the most dangerous, is filling the meteorite with mana through a hatching ceremony. This ritual, known as the Prayer of the Lost, releases small amounts of mana, speeding up the process of destruction. Now, it all clicks for Dokja. He realizes why Solwa chose this location. The area is surrounded by churches and religious buildings, perfect for siphoning spiritual energy from the prayers of desperate survivors. It's the worst kind of energy harvesting, and it's working. She's using the faith of the helpless to turn the world into a literal hellscape. Dokja steps forward, voice firm, blade ready. He warns her that continuing the ritual will only bring death. Of course, one of Solwa's minions steps forward to play the defensive, hostile henchman role. Dokja remains calm, his irritation bubbling beneath the surface as he questions her reasoning. He lists the 3 ways they can survive the apocalypse, as though he's giving a lecture on how to fail spectacularly. During the 3rd regression, Solwa used the meteorite's power, but she never had the guts to hatch it early. Maybe that's why Jungyuk tried to stop her before. But Solwa, ever the drama queen, only responded with scorn, like someone who's only happy when things are going horribly wrong. She mocks Dokja's warning, making it clear she won't stop. Dokja unsheathes his blade, ready. He knows what must be done. If she keeps going, she will die here. Solwa smiles with contempt and flicks her hand. The people kneeling in prayer toward the meteorite suddenly turn to face Dokja. Their bodies twist and change. Antennae burst from their heads, and their hands morph into sharp, rake-like claws. These people are no longer human. They aren't wolves either. They've turned into something else entirely. Insect men. This situation feels off. The meteorite is powerful, yes, but it shouldn't have the ability to mutate people. He activates his blade of faith, and in an instant, the sword bursts into flames. The fire swirls around, hot and bright. The insect-like mutants are especially weak to fire. The flames cling to their twisted skin, setting them alight like dry leaves. The air is filled with their painful screeches as they burn. Dokja shows no hesitation. He slashes through their bodies, cutting off limbs and ripping wings from their backs. Each strike sends a burst of magical energy, turning them into ash. One by one, they fall burned to nothing. Through the chaos, Dokja charges towards Solwa. But this time, his sword doesn't cut through her. For the first time, his blade is stopped. Solwa's arms glow with dark energy, blocking his strike. Her fingernails are sharp like claws, and her entire arm radiates a power that feels unnatural. Still, the force of Dokja's attack pushes her back. making her slide on the ground even though she resists. Damage has been done. Dokja doesn't stop. He warns her that continuing with the ritual won't help her. There's no penalty if the meteorite doesn't hatch, so why keep going? It will only lead to destruction. Soa looks over at the meteorite. Dokja feels a chill. Something's wrong. She doesn't seem like someone trying to control the catastrophe. She's acting like she's willing to let it happen no matter what. If the meteorite hatches, Soa will be wiped out. Anyone can feel the danger. Dokja doesn't waste any time and opens her character profile. Soa is 26, sponsored by the Guam Divine Doctor. But one detail catches his eye: she's infected. A parasite has taken over her body. Dokja's heart sinks. He had hoped it wasn't this, but it is. The parasites are one of the 5 powerful species in Kronos. The others are the Vea from the east, the Emeantar from the south, the Still from the north, and the Inba at the center. The 5th scenario started with the collapse of Kronos, when it was destroyed. Each of the 5 species picked a hero to carry their legacy. These chosen ones were sent through a contract with the Star Stream. In exchange for surviving their world's end, they were supposed to help others fight against catastrophes. These chosen beings are known as guides. A strange, eerie cry escapes Sulwa's mouth. It no longer sounds human. Her voice is filled with something ancient and alien. The parasite inside her has fully awakened. Dokja doesn't flinch. He knows exactly what's happening. The creature inside her isn't Sulwa anymore. It's Antinous, the parasite queen. She's no longer a guide. She's something far worse, something far more dangerous. Her appearance begins to change. Her human form melts away, turning into something monstrous. Her eyes glow like burning embers. Her teeth sharpen into fangs, and her whole body radiates pure hostility and power. Dokja stands firm, facing the parasite queen. He challenges her, demanding to know why she's mutating people into insect-like monsters. She's supposed to be a guide, someone who's meant to protect the world. He asks her, why would she awaken the catastrophe early? Guides are chosen to help build a future with humans, not destroy it. But there's no answer, only rage. The parasite queen leaps forward, claws extended, aiming to kill. Dokja blocks the attack with his sword. The sharp sound of metal against claws rings out. Then, without warning, Dokja grabs her by the collar. His grip is solid. He questions her again. Why destroy the world now, after all the hard work put into terraforming it for survival? What has changed? Without hesitation, he throws her across the space. Her body flies like a projectile and crashes into the wall with a loud thud. Blood spills from her mouth. The parasite queen gasps, shocked that a mere human could do this to her. Dokja steps closer. He reminds her of the true mission. She's supposed to protect the world, not ruin it. He urges her to abandon the body she's possessed. If any part of Antinous, the original guide, still remains, this is her last chance. Deep down, Dokja recalls the story from the 3 ways to survive the apocalypse. The 10 evils had fallen under Poison Beauty's control and joined the parasites. But if Sulwa could be freed from the infection, Dokja wouldn't have to kill her. There's still hope. Then, a message from Jungyuk appears in the air. It's from the Midday Rendezvous. The message is clear. He tells Dokja to kill her. Dokja cannot believe it. Jungyuk follows up with another message, making it clear that Sulwa's life isn't important. What matters is the survival of the world, and Dokja has to make a choice. Dokja asks again, but Jungyuk's response is indifferent. He pretends not to care, but Dokja knows better. Jungyuk is acting tough, but if Sulwa dies here, the cost won't just be physical. It'll be emotional. Losing someone else he once knew will eat away at him. The burden of so many losses will eventually collapse him from within. The parasite queen's glare is deadly. Her intent to kill is obvious. Suddenly, black liquid begins to pour from Sulwa's body. It's the Thousand Spirits poison, an incredibly dangerous toxin. The poison flows through her veins and leaks out through her fingernails. In the next moment, she charges with terrifying speed. Her monstrous claws slash through the air, aimed at Dokja. One of her claws grazes his finger and black smoke rises from the wound. The poison has entered him. From the Midday Rendezvous, Jungyuk sends another message, asking if Dokja has a countermeasure for the Thousand Spirits poison. Dokja confirms that he does. Without a second thought, Dokja takes a step forward and addresses the parasite inside Sulwa. He points out that the parasite has infected someone it doesn't fully understand. The parasite queen has no way of knowing the true identity or history of her host. Then, Dokja pulls out a book, the Dangabogam, an ancient medical text and artifact. This book is powerful. It has the ability to block and cleanse poisons. He activates its hidden effect. Dokja reflects on the immense effort it took to complete this item, knowing the significance it holds in this battle. During the qualification scenario, while all the other kings were busy chasing after the flashy attention, grabbing for Tiger Evil Cutting Sword, Dokja used the chaos as an opportunity to snatch up some rare, much-needed items. The Dangabogam wasn't just some run-of-the-mill item. No, it was a constellation artifact, which automatically made it about 1,000 times cooler than anything the others had. It took 25 chapters to complete, but even with just 8 chapters in his possession, Dokja managed to trigger an effect so powerful it could make anyone's head spin. He activates the detox bead and suddenly, the parasite queen falters. She looks utterly confused, as if the world just shattered around her. This wasn't supposed to work on the thousand spirits poison. Her disbelief is almost endearing. But Dokja calmly explains the facts like he's reading a grocery list. The detox bead alone couldn't remove the poison, but the Dongabogum could, and it's all because both the poison and the book share the same origin. The mastermind behind the Thousand Spirits poison was Divine Dr. Guam, Jun Hyo, the same constellation who authored the Dongabogum. The book isn't just some random text, it's a record of Hyo's failed experiments, one of which turned into the very poison now coursing through Siloa. It wasn't supposed to be used this way. It's the result of a twisted evolution, far from what Jun Hyo had ever intended. And Siloa isn't attacking of her own will. Imagine that, a villain with no real agency. What a plot twist. Dokja looks at her with a mix of pity and resolve. He gives her a chance. He urges her to leave the parasite behind. She could still return to who she once was, a guide, someone who was meant to help others survive. She still had a chance to live among people, share her knowledge, and maybe even become a constellation herself someday. But her voice shakes with emotion, revealing just how far gone she is. The hatred inside her hasn't disappeared. It's still there, festering. Dokja stands still, watching the woman who was once praised for her healing hands. Now she's twisted by hatred, consumed by the pain of loss. Her body may move with fury, but her heart has already shattered. Talk about a redemption arc gone horribly wrong. Siloa charges at him like a wild animal, completely out of control. Her scream is pure chaos, a declaration of death rather than justice. Dokja doesn't flinch. He moves with the precision of a man who knows exactly what needs to be done, not out of aggression, but out of cold necessity. In a flash, he's behind her, gripping her wrist with the efficiency of a surgeon and not an ounce of hesitation. Her body tenses. Her eyes widen in horror as she realizes just how outclassed she is. There's no denying the difference in their strength. Dokja doesn't waste time. He's been preparing for this exact moment, not to kill her, but to save her. His fingers move with precision, pressing on pressure points across her body using the incomplete knowledge he's gained from the Dongabogum. It's not elegant. It's not painless. In fact, it's downright painful. Each touch brings an eruption of agony, and her body convulses as she screams like a wild animal trapped in a cage. She falls to her knees, thrashing violently as if she's trying to fight off the inevitable. But Dokja continues without mercy. This isn't punishment, it's surgery. Her screams aren't signs of defeat. They're the sound of something deep inside her being ripped out. Her howls fill the air as her body betrays her, black bile and strange fluids spilling from her mouth. Just as the parasite that had taken control of her mind and soul is finally expelled, her cries slowly morph from distorted, inhuman screeches to something a little closer to her original voice. She's trembling, alive again. Dokja stays composed. In his peripheral vision, a message floats into view. The constellation known as the Gom Divine Doctor has been watching the whole time, but now it observes him with approval, not judgment. The old medicine has worked. Siloa lies in the dirt, her soul and fading thoughts trying to hold on. She asks who he is. Dokja answers with quiet certainty, saying he was sent by Jungyuk. The name echoes through the air like a stranger's whisper. At that moment, a message flickers in the air. Jungyuk has sent a short command, telling Dokja not to do anything reckless. Dokja turns back to the woman, still curled on the ground, caught between sickness and salvation. He speaks again, gently, without expecting anything. He tells her that she will understand soon. Dokja silently acknowledges the weight of the situation. The parasitic madness has been burned away through pain, and now Sidelwa, once known as the Sage of Medicine, could return not just as a survivor but as a companion. She might not just join Jungyuk's group, she must. The chaos rages on, but Dokja turns toward a distant shout. Seong and Sanga approach, their figures cutting through the smoke and broken terrain. Both of them have already cleared the path behind them, neutralizing the threats with impressive speed and coordination. Dokja's briefly stunned. Together, they've swept through a horde of infected survivors and brought some order to the chaos. But there's no time to celebrate. Near him, the grotesque mass of mucus that was once forced out of Solwa's body begins to shift. The shapeless ooze floats upward, reforming in the air in an instant. It becomes a dense, pulsating orb. From within, something ancient and evil reawakens. It's the true form of Antinous, the parasite queen. Dokja realizes instantly that the real battle has only just begun. He warns the others to keep their distance. Any exposure to her now could mean infection. Without warning, her body moves. Her tail lashes through the air like a bolt of lightning, aiming directly for Dokja's gut. He tries to block it, his hand shooting up instinctively to grab the sharp tail mid-strike. But even then, it pierces him. A burning pain blossoms across his chest. The blow lands. His thoughts race through the pain. She's faster than he thought. Even with his agility above 50, he can't dodge in time. That alone shows the difference in their power. Antinous, despite her world being destroyed long ago, had once been a protector, a hero. Her strength is on par with some of the strongest beings Dokja has seen, maybe even equal to his own. She doesn't stop. Using the fact that Dokja is holding her tail, she propels herself forward. Her body slams into him with brutal force. The impact throws him backward, and he crashes to the ground. The earth cracks beneath him. His vision pulses with white light as pain surges through every joint and muscle. Still, Dokja grits his teeth and pushes through the pain. He doesn't need to defeat her, he just needs to buy time. He reminds himself of the rule. Antinous isn't supposed to act like this. The scenario hasn't ended, and her actions are breaking the narrative's rules. She's ignoring the system that binds them all. If she keeps going like this, she won't be able to handle what comes next. Even she can't escape the system forever. Then, Dokja feels it, the pendant around his neck. The protection symbol of the Imyantar pulses. A deep tremor shakes against his chest. He remembers, of course, that power still remains, but only with effort. Dokja lifts his battered body from the dirt. He grips his pendant tightly, knowing what must be done. This fight wasn't his. He wasn't meant to be her opponent. He wasn't supposed to finish this battle. Suddenly, the sky rips open with a sonic boom, and a flash of silver light slashes through the clouds. From above, a massive figure descends, wrapped in a wild mane of radiant fur. The air howls as it hits the ground like a meteor, landing on four limbs before rising with regal ease. It's the Prince of the Imyantar. He radiates nobility, and the air around him crackles with power. The prince kneels before Dokja, a show of respect. Then he faces the reborn parasite queen. The two ancient beings stare at each other, remnants of a past long buried. The queen recognizes him at once. Her laughter is sharp, mocking, dripping with decay. Lycan doesn't flinch. He steps forward, demanding answers. He asks her why she has turned against the humans, and why is she destroying everything. Instead of answering, the queen mocks him, pretending to forget her duty. She spits venom and disinterest. The idea of a mission means nothing to her now, but Lycan is furious and he remembers everything. The oath sworn by the warriors of Kronos, the destruction of the 5 ruling species, the blood spilled to allow life to continue. He reminds her of their purpose. They were guides meant to protect and prepare civilizations for the coming disasters. They weren't supposed to dominate. They were meant to lead with wisdom and sacrifice. The queen has strayed from that path, but Lycan hasn't. He's here to stop her. Inside Dokja's mind, the truth echoes clearly. The so-called guides, those who claim to help humanity, had a different goal. Their real purpose was to weaken Earth. They wanted to rebuild their fallen world, and Earth was just a stepping stone to that end. To them, Earth wasn't a world to protect. It was a foundation to destroy and reshape for their own benefit. Antinous, consumed by fury, snaps back with anger. She accuses Lycan of hypocrisy, asking if he truly cared about Earth. Why didn't he oppose its selection as the next battleground for catastrophes? Why did he stay silent while Earth was marked for destruction? Sayang stands nearby, confused. She doesn't understand the argument between these alien beings and Dokja. She doesn't grasp their talk of other worlds and vengeance, but Dokja remains still silent. Antinous, her rage boiling over, turns all her anger on Lycan. She shouts that they're both the same, beings who came to Earth out of vengeance. She declares that she's here to make those who ruined Kronos pay in blood, but Lycan doesn't budge. He warns her that if she keeps this up, she will die. The star stream's rule of plausibility won't allow her to run wild. But Antinous doesn't care. She screams that the version of herself Lycan once knew died long ago, along with the other parasites from their destroyed home world. Lycan grits his teeth, seeing that Antinous still doesn't understand the truth. Antinous laughs, mocking him, reminding him of their world's brutal history. The insects of Kronos had never lost to the wolves. She calls him pitiful, just another Imyantar trying to act noble. Lycan, however, is firm. He tells her he is no longer the wolf she once knew. Antinous laughs again. She seems mad. She wants to see for herself how much Lycan has changed. In an instant, she launches herself like a missile toward him, her body cutting through the air at an insane speed. Her skill Mentinus break activates. Sharp, scythe-like energy explodes forward, and the air cracks with a horrible noise as she slams into a barrier. But Lycan is faster. Before her attack can land, he moves. His body flows like the wind, slipping past her strikes with perfect timing. Antinous doesn't give up. She continues her assault, darting in and out with deadly speed. But not a single hit lands. Lycan's movements are impossible to follow. Every swing misses, every blow passes through air. His skill, Way of the Wind, creates an air barrier that clashes with the force of Antinous' tail. Sparks explode, and a tearing sound rings out as their powers collide like ripping leather in the wind. Sanga, stunned by the sight, wonders aloud what kind of skill Lycan is using. She guesses it might be some form of instant acceleration, but Dokja knows the truth. This isn't just a speed technique. This is the Way of the Wind, a sacred art passed down by the wolves of Kronos. Inside Dokja's mind, a desire begins to form. The Way of the Wind isn't just for movement, it's also for dodging and attacking. If he could master it, he wouldn't need all the complicated abilities. It's efficient, fast, and powerful. Watching Lycon use it so easily makes Dokja realize how valuable it is. At first, it looks like Lycon and Antinous are just moving at extreme speed, but it's not just that. It's Lycon's skill. The atmosphere itself bends to his will. Every movement shapes the wind around him. Antinous notices it too. The wind is messing with her path, pushing her back, throwing off her rhythm. Then, Lycon unleashes his full power with a furious roar. He calls upon the strength of the wind itself. Sharp gusts rip through the air, shredding the wings of Antinous. A sudden kick, accelerated by the wind, strikes her hard in the abdomen. The blow hits her armored shell, and her scream echoes across the battlefield. Antinous spirals through the air, half of her wings torn off. She crashes to the ground in pain, while Lycon lands gracefully. Not a scratch on him. Antinous slowly crawls up, gritting her teeth in rage. Before we continue, if you have liked this recap, hit that like button as today's goal is 1,500 likes. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on. Dokja observes her closely. Even for someone like Antinous, a legendary hero from Chronos, it's almost impossible to fight Lycon and also bear the punishment of breaking the star stream's rule of plausibility. This law doesn't forgive those who stretch the narrative too far, and Antinous has crossed a line. But, of course, she's not ready to fall. Filled with rage, she screams in defiance like she's auditioning for a role in a low-budget action film. The signs of a probability storm are practically tattooed on her body, intensifying as she charges toward the meteorite like she's about to solve all her problems with one dramatic move. And just like that, Dokja's life becomes more complicated. He's already running when Jungus cuts through the chaos, urging him to kill her, as if things weren't hectic enough. At the same time, Lycon's voice joins the chorus, shouting that Antinous is trying to inject the last of her mana into the meteorite. Great! She's about to blow everything up, all because she's still stuck on some ancient revenge fantasy about her fallen world and lost race. Classic. To her, this is revenge for the destruction of Chronos, but let's be real, it's more like a tantrum. With the last of her magic, she hurls a devastating stream of energy toward the meteorite. Dokja moves faster than anyone gives him credit for. He draws his weapon and activates the Blade of Faith. The fire property glows bright enough to make a campfire jealous as Lycon rushes to block the magic. Dokja swings cleanly, slashing at Antinous' neck like he's giving a routine demonstration of a butcher's skill. Blood splashes from the wound, a poetic ending to a dramatic scene. At the same time, Lycon uses the Way of the Wind to grab Antinous by the tail, because apparently, that's his go-to move when things get messy. He tries to stop her, but it's too late. The explosion goes off like a bad fireworks show. Light bursts from the meteorite, and a sonic boom rips across the battlefield, the sound of their failure echoing for miles. Dokja is caught in the shockwave. One of the meteorite's burning fragments strikes his head, rattling his brain like a bad car crash. The ground splits open, and space itself trembles. Lycon is thrown into the air like a rag doll, probably wondering why he thought this was a good idea. Antinous' little tantrum has triggered the catastrophe, and the guide system is shaking its metaphorical head in disappointment. The world can't bear the weight of this disaster. It's beyond saving. The balance of the scenario is as broken as Antinous' logic, and cold, final notifications roll in, marking their failure with the kind of finality you only get after a really bad decision. Dokja's vision fades to black as the explosion buries him under heavy debris. The world falls silent. For a moment, everything feels distant, as if he's watching from the comfort of a cushy recliner. Then, as his senses return, Jungyuk's familiar voice cuts through the chaos, urgently calling for Dokja to wake up and act before it's all over. The disaster is still ongoing, and there's a slim chance to stop it. Nearby, Sanga braces herself against the impact, probably wishing she had stayed in bed that morning. She's shaken, clearly disoriented, scanning for any sign of Dokja. But before she can find him, her eyes land on something even more confusing. A boy not far from her rises from the rubble, and of course he's completely naked. Not a stitch of cloth on him. He stands there, looking around like someone who's just been unceremoniously dropped into the middle of a disaster without any explanation. He stretches his arms as though waking up from a nap, completely unfazed by the absolute destruction around him. Dokja finally pulls himself out of the rubble, looking like a mess. Sueng, completely stunned, turns to face him. She has no idea what's going on or how to handle what she's seeing. Then, the cold, mechanical sound of system notifications fills the air. The catastrophe, called the Catastrophe of Questions, has been weakened. It hatched before its intended time. But instead of punishing the catastrophe, the penalty is given to Dokja. For the next 3 minutes, he can't attack it. Frustration builds up in him. This doesn't make sense. They're being punished, not the disaster. Dokja grinds his teeth, feeling the weight of those precious minutes ticking away. He knows they could mean the difference between survival and complete destruction. One thing is clear, they have to deal with this being as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the boy who just woke up from the rubble starts strolling toward a nearby survivor. She's a member of the poisoner's group, clearly confused and trying to recover from the chaos around her. The boy walks up to her casually, as if none of this destruction even matters. It's like they're standing in the middle of a peaceful street instead of a battlefield. Dokja wants to scream out a warning. He can feel the danger, but his voice doesn't come. His mouth moves, but there's no sound. He knows this isn't a harmless situation, but the woman is still clueless. She tries to answer the boy. Her voice is shaky and unsure. Then, as she answers, the system reacts. A message appears confirming that the first question has been resolved. The moment shifts. Manga Ilsang, the returnee, bursts into laughter. His face twists with bitterness and rage. As his emotions flood out, he starts talking about the unimaginable suffering he's gone through. He's lived for a century, trapped in another dimension, the only human in a world full of horrors. He's seen monsters unlike anything on Earth, giant insects, feral werewolves, a natural birdman, and yet, somehow, he survived it all. Standing barefoot amid the debris, Ilsang tilts his head and asks another strange question. He's calm, almost cheerful, as he faces the confused woman. He gives her a weird choice between insects, wolves, and birds. He wants to know which one she thinks is the best. The woman, trembling, asks what he means. She doesn't get the question, and fear starts to choke her. But the boy just laughs harder. He asks her which of the three does she think would taste the best. The woman is frightened. She realizes something is horribly wrong. She pleads for her life, begging not to be killed. But her pleas fall on deaf ears. Without hesitation, the boy stomps on her skull, and the next instant, her head is crushed like a popped balloon. Blood splatters across the cracked ground. It's brutal, sudden, and completely without mercy. In an instant, her life is gone. The boy chuckles to himself, clearly satisfied, like this is something totally normal. He speaks as if no one is there, casually talking about what he's going to do next. He mentions fighting S-grade incarnations, destroying overconfident groups, and tearing through the world like a storm. His eyes gleam with madness. Then he turns his attention to Sanga. Just then, a system notification rings out, saying the penalty for premature awakening has ended. The boy grins, commenting on her appearance without even noticing the horror he's just caused. He radiates danger like he thinks he's some big shot. Sanga stands frozen, her heart pounding and fear creeping over her like ice. Yet she doesn't back down. Dokja, still struggling to stand, sees what's going on. His body aches, but he forces himself to rise and shout out to her. Sanga, still shaking, finally speaks. She asks the boy who he is. Her voice is full of fear, no kindness at all. The boy leans in closer, acting all playful. He teases her like she's a little kid, and asks if she really wants to know. Dokja puts everything together in his mind. This boy is one of the 5 catastrophes of the 5th scenario. He's the catastrophe that destroyed Kronos. He's the reason Antinous turned to rage, why she wants Earth to fall. This is the returnee who was once a hero in Kronos, the catastrophe of questions. His name is Ilsang Myungo. Ilsang demands an answer again, pressing Sanga, mocking her response. He expects her to blush or act shy, but Sanga doesn't fit into his little fantasy. She stands firm and asks him what he is, her voice strong. Dokja shouts again, his voice sharper now, telling Sanga not to answer any more of the boy's questions. He knows how dangerous this situation is. Sanga hears him, but her eyes are full of conflict. She holds her ground, but it's clear she's struggling. Ilsang gets irritated. He tells her to focus on him, not Dokja. He mockingly asks if Dokja is her boyfriend. Then, he reaches out to touch her. But Sanga doesn't hesitate. She quickly swats his hand aside and pushes him away. Ilsang looks at his hand, surprised. It's shaking. Even he's caught off guard by the tremor. A system notification pops. The second seal on Ilsang, the returnee, is broken. The boy, who looks barely 17, now becomes even more dangerous. Sanga wastes no time. She pulls out her dagger and tenses her body, her eyes locked on Ilsang, ready to strike. Ilsang's face contorts with rage, like something inside him just snapped. He glares at Dokja. The anger on his face is clear. Dokja represents everything he's lost: peace, a normal life, everything that could have been. Purple particles swirl around his hand, and he points it at Dokja. The air around them warps with power, and then he lets loose one of his most deadly attacks. A small red fire cannon, but it's not small at all. It's the black fire cannon. This is no regular skill. It's the same fire that once scorched Kronos' eastern forces and burned whole insect kings to ash. Flames burst out in all directions, igniting the very air. The heat is overwhelming. Dokja's body screams in pain as the fire sears his skin, sending agony through his body. It hurts a lot, but to his surprise, it's not as bad as he expected. This is the fire that would make even the toughest insects fear for their lives. Yet Dokja is still standing strong amidst the flames. Sanga doesn't hesitate. She rushes at Ilsang, her daggers slicing through the air with incredible speed. Ilsang, taken aback by her agility, is forced to retreat. His attacks lose focus. He's stunned. He can't believe someone like her is making him struggle. For a moment, he wonders if she's a returnee too. But he quickly dismisses the thought, assuming it's just his power that's weakening. Dokja watches closely, sensing something's wrong. Even with 2 broken seals, Ilsang should be much stronger. Sanga may be strong, but she shouldn't be able to stand 2-2 with a catastrophe. Dokja uses his skill to check Ilsang's character profile. The truth comes to light. Ilsang looks 17, but he's actually 127 years old. His skills are all triple S grade, but most of his stats are locked. They can only be unlocked by resolving his questions. Dokja thinks to himself that this is different from what the novel said. Ilsang is weaker, much weaker than he should be. Maybe Bong is messing with things. Whatever the cause, it's their chance. Dokja shouts at Suyong and Sanga to give it everything they've got. This is their moment. They need to finish this before Ilsang gets back to full power. Dokja draws his blade and spends coins to boost his stats. He's not holding back. Ilsang is too dangerous. Dokja reminds everyone of the most important rule: no one answers Ilsang's questions. Ilsang notices Dokja's rising strength. His confidence wavers, but just for a moment. Dokja doesn't wait around. He leaps forward, charging at Ilsang with full force. He activates the Stigma Sword song. The power of the Duke of Loyalty and Warfare courses through him, and his sword becomes infused with the weight of war. He brings it down hard on Ilsang. Ilsang panics. The strength behind the attack is more than he bargained for. He leaps forward with a flying kick, landing a brutal blow on the ribs of Dokja. The impact shakes through his body, and Dokja goes flying back. The Ways of Survival series first described how people adapt to a ruined world. Some ruin time, some shift to alternate dimensions, and some reincarnate. Ultimately, everyone has their own way of surviving the end. The second way of surviving in a ruined world is to survive an invasion into another dimension and return. These people are known as returnees. Ilsang is one of them. He's the second-ranked returnee in the novel, and now his path of destruction has reached Earth. Meanwhile, Ilsang stands tall, completely unfazed. Instead of retreating or defending, he responds with mock surprise, acting like Dokja's attack is nothing more than a small inconvenience. Dokja coughs up blood, struggling to stay upright. His body aches from the earlier hit. The attack left a deep mark, but he stays focused. He reminds himself that war isn't just about swords and wounds. Sometimes, even a wartime diary holds more than just battle scars. But the pain still lingers. Before Dokja can act, Suing steps forward, determined. She doesn't have time for games. She splits herself into dozens of avatars, each one rushing toward Ilsang. Her intent is clear. She isn't trying to delay him, she wants him dead. Ilsang, though, faces this storm of attacks with a smile, still looking at Suyong with the same mocking tone. He comments on her appearance, treating everything like a joke. He pretends to be hurt, acting as if her hostility is unprovoked, like he's the victim here. Suyong isn't interested in his words. She's furious. Her avatar is close and faster, slashing from every angle. The battlefield becomes a blur of flashing blades and collapsing terrain, but Ilsang continues dodging, moving with unnatural speed and grace. He keeps talking, trying to guess Suyong's identity. He brings up the Hunters Association, claiming they're always the ones attacking returnees like him. Suyong shouts in frustration, her voice sharp and filled with rage. None of what he says makes sense. There's no such thing as a formal fight between returnees and hunters. He's just making things up, twisting everything to fit his narrative. Then, it happens. A wave of system notifications flashes before their eyes, one after another. The third question is answered, then the fourth, then the fifth. With each resolved question, a seal breaks. And now the third seal on Ilsang, the returnee, is released. A smile slowly spreads across Ilsang's face. He finally gets it. Suyong's response, her words, whether she realized it or not, have answered his questions. Her emotions have helped him unlock even more of his power. A massive wave of energy bursts from Ilsang's body. The ground shakes and the air ripples violently. Suyong's avatars, which had once flooded the battlefield, are destroyed instantly. They shatter like glass in the face of his newly awakened strength. Dokja feels his heart sink. He watches helplessly as the balance shifts again. This is bad, really bad. Suyong tries to make sense of what's happening. Clearly shaken by the sudden change, her irritation grows, but Dokja quickly warns her. Any response, even insults, will just feed Ilsang's power. He doesn't need logical answers. He just needs engagement. Suyong argues, claiming she only cursed at him and didn't answer anything important. Dokja reminds her that it doesn't matter. Even meaningless reactions are still responses in this battle. Silence is survival. Just then, Sanga charges forward. Her dagger flashes through the air and clashes against Ilsang's arm. He blocks it easily with just a flick of his wrist. The impact sends them both flying back, but Sanga isn't done. She reappears behind Ilsang in an instant, releasing an intense killing intent. She activates 3 different skills, Hermes' Walking Method, Thesis Resolution, and Araki's Web, all at once. Dokja's eyes widen in disbelief. These are all stigmas belonging to Olympian constellations. It's impossible for one incarnation to possess all of them, especially without a special scenario or event. And Sanga, who had never read 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse, should know how to obtain these powers. Yet here she is, moving like someone blessed by multiple gods. A web of energy and threads explodes from her body, wrapping around Ilsang and trapping him in place. For the first time, he looks stunned. At the same moment, Soyoung's avatars surge toward him, landing a flurry of heavy strikes. Each blow is precise, and the combined power of the avatars and Sanga's restraints overwhelms him. Sanga signals. Dokja rushes in, his blade of faith in hand. He slashes through Ilsang's shoulder and belly. Blood pours out. The attack lands cleanly. Ilsang staggers, overwhelmed by the relentless storm of attacks. But then everything changes. Ilsang activates a powerful escape skill. Blink. His body shimmers and distorts, and in the next breath he vanishes. Only the blood left behind confirms he was ever there. The battlefield is still. Soyoung grits her teeth in frustration. Ilsang has escaped, but Dokja stays calm. He knows they've dealt serious damage, and the returnee can't keep running forever. Dokja looks to Sanga to thank her, but she doesn't respond. When he examines her closely, he realizes something's wrong. The skill she used, this is his resolution, is a heavy price to pay. It drains all the user's inner power. Her body can't take much more. Dokja gently hands Sanga to Soyoung, who grumbles loudly, annoyed at the extra weight. She doesn't want to carry another unconscious ally, but she doesn't argue. They continue following Ilsang's trail. Dokja's mind is elsewhere. Sanga used multiple stigmas at full power, and her body endured something no normal incarnation could survive. Dokja recalls what he knows from 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse. There are rare cases where incarnations have blessings from multiple constellations, but if his guess is right, Sanga is something even rarer, something that shouldn't exist. As the group catches their breath, Soyoung speaks out, realizing the seriousness of their situation. Ilsang, the catastrophe of questions, is getting stronger every time someone answers him. Each answer breaks another of his seals. Dokja confirms her fear. Returnees like Ilsang are much stronger than normal incarnations. They're restricted by seals when they enter their world, but once those seals break, things can spiral out of control. Soyoung asks how many seals there are. Dokja doesn't know for sure but guesses there are dozens. If all of them break, they're in trouble. The only thing in their favor is that no new scenario has been activated yet. But if more incarnations come and respond to Ilsang's questions, they'll help release the very disaster they're trying to stop. Then, everything changes. The air shifts, crackling with red sparks. A powerful presence descends from the sky. A high-ranking Dokkaebi appears, his eyes gleaming with amusement. He praises the group for cornering a catastrophe like Ilsang, despite the penalties they're facing. But his tone quickly shifts. He accuses them of being greedy. In his eyes, victories like this are meant to be shared. System messages flood the group's screens. Soyoung curses under her breath as the full consequences of their actions start to hit them. The Dokkaebi addresses all the incarnations and delivers bad news. Because of the interference caused by some of them, one of the catastrophes has awakened in Gangdong-go. The crowd panics. Confused voices fill the air. People are yelling, demanding to know who's to blame, but the Dokkaebi just smirks. He mocks their fear, claiming he can hear their complaints from a mile away. Some people try to flee from Gangdong-gu, but he warns them not to. He says this catastrophe isn't just a threat, it's an opportunity. His laugh rings out, cruel and sharp. He goes on about how miserable their lives are, how they lost everything overnight, how monsters stole their coins, and how even their friends turned into enemies. At least they don't have to go to work anymore. But now, the constellations want entertainment in exchange for survival. Some people nervously laugh, offering coins for ridiculous things like dancing around like monkeys. The laughter of constellations follows, like they're watching some twisted game. Dokja can't help but clench his fists. The Dokkaebi's way of speaking is too smooth, too calculated. He's not just a low-level broadcast official. He's talking to them individually, making this whole thing feel more personal. That's what makes him dangerous. The Dokkaebi's tone softens, pretending to show sympathy. He speaks to those who felt helpless since the scenarios began, the ones who tried to rebuild their lives only to find out the game was rigged from the start. He calls out their crushing defeat, watching others with powerful constellations rise, while they're left struggling and begging for attention. He offers them a poisoned hand. This disaster, he says, is their chance to change everything. A test, a promise. Dokja feels something shift. Something's wrong. This Dokkaebi, his tone, his presence, they're not ordinary. Dokja recalls how recently mid-level Dokkaebis have started taking over tasks usually handled by low-level ones. It was strange at the time, but now seeing this one, he understands. This isn't just any mid-level agent. This is Dokgak, a Dokkaebi from a major channel. Someone who's not supposed to be involved at this level. Dokgak snaps his fingers and a giant screen appears above the battlefield. On it, a young boy stumbles through the streets, wounded but grinning. It's Ilsang. Dokgak begins his twisted storytelling. The crowd learns that this boy isn't just another returnee. He's a walking SSS grade item, chosen by the Star Stream, transported to another world where he was granted great power, lived a fantasy life, won the love of an elf, and became a hero. But now, he's back not as a savior, but as a catastrophe. However, Dokgak doesn't call him a disaster. He calls him a treasure, a golden opportunity. He tells the incarnations not to worry. Ilsang's powers are sealed. He may still be strong, but if enough people attack him, they can defeat him. Suyang, watching from the side, starts to understand. This Dokja isn't just some chaotic force, he's a master manipulator. He isn't trying to scare people, he wants chaos. Dokja knows it too. If the Dokja had just announced that a catastrophe had awakened, most people would have run away. But by spinning it as an opportunity, he made sure they would chase it instead. Suddenly, the sky fills with new notifications. A new sub-scenario has been activated to defeat the SSS-grade hero Manga Ilsang. The reward is great, but the punishment for failure is total destruction of the Soul Dome. As soon as the scenario is announced, the streets erupt in chaos. Incarnations rush toward Ilsang, screaming and shouting. He stands in the middle of the madness, calm and smiling. Blood drips from his wounds, but he doesn't seem bothered. People yell at him, asking if he thinks this is a game. Ilsang responds casually, almost playfully. He teases them, suggesting that if they're so jealous of his experience in another world, he could send them there too. Some actually believe him. One man shouts that he wants to go, that anything is better than the hellish life they're living now. Ilsang extends his arm toward the crowd, and in that moment, more notifications echo. The 8th and 9th seals on Manga Ilsang are broken. He stands before the crowd, eyes gleaming with airy calm. He softly whispers a farewell, not just to the people, but to any lingering humanity he once had. He doesn't care if the other world is better or worse. All that matters now is sending these people away, just like he destroyed everything else before. Then it happens. The sky lights up with more messages, each one worse than the last. The 12th, 13th, and 14th seals on Manga Ilsang have been broken. Ilsang is regaining his full strength, and the pace of it is overwhelming. Without warning, Ilsang triggers his power. The name, Small Black Fire Cannon, flashes in the air, and within seconds, violet energy bursts across the horizon. Dokja reacts fast. He grabs Suyang and pulls her behind a building for cover. But the impact is insane. A deep purple beam shoots forward, slicing through buildings like they're made of paper. Half a dozen high-rises crumble in an instant. A major part of the street vanishes, like it was never there. Those who tried to confront Ilsang, those who had charged at him just moments before, are gone. Disintegrated. Not even their bones remain. This isn't just power. This is destruction itself. Beside Dokja, Suyang collapses. Her face is pale. Her voice shakes as she tries to comprehend what just happened. She can't understand how anyone is supposed to defeat that. Dokja fights the fear. He speaks firmly, telling her they can still win. Now they have a better chance than ever. But Suyang can't accept it. She just saw people vanish like ashes in the wind. She wants to run, not fight. She remembers how Dokja hesitated earlier, nearly giving up. Now, suddenly he's full of confidence. It doesn't make sense to her. Before Dokja can respond, a shadow looms behind Suyang. Ilsang has crept up on them, sneaking in like a predator. He sees them as members of the former Hunters Association, and his smile widens with cruel amusement. He mocks them, blaming them for ruining everything. Apparently, he had big dreams of making a glorious return, to be hailed as a hero. Too bad for him they ruined that. Now, with nothing left to hold him back, he's all ready to become the villain he clearly always wanted to be. What a plot twist. Ilsang stands there, puffing up his chest with a sense of superiority, his eyes wild with bitterness and his voice dripping with venom. He starts talking about his dreams. The kind of self-indulgent fantasies you only hear from someone who clearly doesn't know how to handle rejection. He wanted to teach arrogant S-grade incarnations a lesson, destroy overconfident groups, and spend time with beautiful women. So noble. His vision was to be a powerful figure, a beacon of glory. Now standing in front of them, he's just a sad, deluded man child-hoofing bitterly because he realizes he's never going to be the hero of his own story. His fall from grace is here, and he wants the world to witness it. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You know it stores Selena, you know it's coming, but no one's brave enough to say it out loud. Suyang can feel the weight of the situation. The fear hits her like a ton of bricks. Ilsang is no longer the person they once knew. He's leveled up, far beyond their reach, and there's no way they can win. Despair seeps into her voice as she screams, but before she can finish her dramatic declaration of hopelessness, Ilsang is already behind them again, his grin dark and twisted. The man doesn't even give them a second to react. He strikes, and their bodies are flung like ragdolls, crashing into the broken asphalt, leaving deep cracks in the ground. Ouch, that's gotta sting. Then, like some cruel cosmic joke, a system window pops up in front of Dokja. Junjuk's voice filters through, as if reminding Dokja that he's not the hero here. There's no way to win this fight directly, Junjuk says. Well, thanks for the newsflash. Ilsang's power is overwhelming, too much for them to handle. But Dokja doesn't give up. He's a glutton for punishment, after all. He wants to keep fighting to prove something to himself. Meanwhile, Junjuk doesn't sugarcoat it. He goes on the offensive, criticizing Dokja sharply, pointing out how everything has fallen apart because of his failure to act earlier. If he'd made a move with Sielwa or Antinous, maybe they'd be in a better position. Maybe. Dokja, ever the diplomat, answers honestly. He's not a regressor like Jungyuk. He doesn't have the luxury of endless lives to take risks. One mistake means death. So he has to think, plan, and calculate everything. And yet, Jung-hyuk is not impressed. He tells Dokja not to get so cocky. Knowing part of the future doesn't mean you can control it. Just because you've read the novel doesn't mean you can rewrite the script. Thinking you can outsmart fate is reckless, not heroic. Dokja feels the weight of Jung-hyuk's words hit him like a slap to the face. Deep down, he knows Jung-hyuk is right. He's been getting a little too big for his boots. Reading the novel gave him a sense of invincibility, a delusion that he could handle any twist and outsmart every danger. But the world isn't a story. Real people suffer here, and now it's all gotten way out of hand. He's not all-knowing, he's just someone pretending to control things. But even so, Dokja pushes back. If Jung-hyuk sees this so clearly, why isn't he stepping up to lead, and why is someone like Dokja expected to carry all the weight? Jung-hyuk speaks cryptically, suggesting that Dokja might not need the way of the wind skill to defeat Ilsang. This immediately confuses Dokja. He's certain that the skill is essential, but Jung-hyuk, as always, is thinking of something else. He points out that his own attribute, pro-gamer, doesn't rely on raw power but rather on knowledge, strategy, and skill. Then, with a strange calmness, Jung-hyuk turns the question on Dokja. What's his attribute? What is he actually good at? Dokja, still running with his heart pounding, feels a jolt of confusion. He wonders what he is good at, his mind races to find an answer, but for the first time, he realizes he's not sure. As the question echoes in his mind, he comes to a sudden stop, his legs locked in place. Ilsang stands just a few steps away, his expression filled with disbelief. He doesn't understand why Dokja isn't running. The man who was just thrown aside and crushed now stands still, as if he's ready to fight. Ilsang mocks him, reminding him of the painful defeat just moments ago. But Dokja doesn't respond. Instead, he closes his eyes, focusing on his thoughts. Something is missing, something important. He forces himself to take a breath and calm down. He knows he has to remember what he's truly good at. It's not his fighting ability, it's not his strength. He can't match Ilsang in that department. Then it hits him. It's reading. His ability to read and understand the world around him, to analyze and think ahead. That's what's always given him an edge. He activates his omniscient reader's viewpoint, feeling the rush of information flood into his mind. Suddenly, everything slows down. He can hear the air shifting around him. He can feel every movement, every change in the atmosphere. He even hears Ilsang's movements before they happen. His senses sharpen as he prepares himself for what's coming. Ilsang lunges toward him, but Dokja moves like lightning, dodging the incoming blow with shocking precision. Dokja's hand instinctively grabs the handle of his sword, and he invokes the stigma song of the sword. The power of the Duke of Loyalty and Warfare surges through him. The ancient words flood his mind. Today I am prepared for death. I pray to God in heaven, may I destroy the enemy. His sword becomes more than just a weapon. It becomes a symbol of purpose, a tool filled with the weight of countless battles. With the blade of faith activated, Dokja charges forward. His steps are firm, his resolve clear. But Ilsang, ever confident, doesn't seem threatened. He casually meets the strike, swatting away Dokja's glowing blade with little effort. But Dokja is far from done. As Ilsang moves to retaliate, Dokja senses another attack coming. Ilsang jumps high into the air, his body twisting as he descends with a brutal kick aimed straight for his head. Dokja tries to react in time, but the attack lands squarely on his skull. The impact is brutal. His body crashes to the ground, pain surging through him like wildfire. His head spins and his thoughts blur for a moment. The world around him feels distant, his body numb from the force of the hit. But in the back of his mind, a single thought cuts through the fog: this isn't enough. This fight, this battle, it's all beyond him. He curses inwardly, frustration building. The knowledge he gained from 3 ways to survive the apocalypse isn't enough. It isn't enough to stop this overwhelming power. Even with omniscient reader's viewpoint, he can't anticipate every attack in time. Dokja struggles to push himself up, but his limbs feel heavy. He understands now. The gap between him and Ilsang is too wide. Despite all his strategies, all his knowledge, he's still not strong enough. Dokja thinks about using Gampiangui, the weapon that can summon a constellation, but hesitates. He doesn't want to take on another debt. He hates the idea of being even more powerless than he already feels. He wishes he had talent, or at least borrowed talent. If only he could steal someone else's power. Then a thought strikes him, almost like a bolt of lightning. The idea of stealing. That single word clicks in his mind. A sudden realization hits him hard. Information has always been his greatest weapon, but he's gathered so much of it that he's missed some crucial pieces. Now, the forgotten detail comes rushing back. He curses himself for overlooking it. He wonders how could he have been so careless. Just then, Seong cries out, unsure of why Dokja is still fighting. But Dokja has already made up his mind. He activates his personal skill bookmark. Out of all the bookmarks, only one slot remains open. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't need Jung-hyuk or Sooyoung this time. He scrolls through the characters, searching for the right one. When he finds him, a smile crosses his face. That person is a character too. Without wasting another second, he selects him and slots him into the 4th bookmark. He chooses the skill immediately. Suddenly, silver wind swirls around Dokja's body. A new energy fills his limbs. It feels like a wild storm has wrapped around him, giving him the strength and speed of a lone wolf. Swift, alert, unstoppable. Then, the notification rings in his mind. Way of the Wind, level 8, activated. Suyong stands frozen, her eyes wide with disbelief. She can't understand how Dokja managed to activate Way of the Wind. She thought he wasn't capable of learning it. But now the power surrounding him is undeniable. The expression of Dokja hardens. He doesn't hesitate. He tells Suyong to step back. A storm surrounds him, wind swirling at his feet and gathering in his hands. The crypt description he once didn't understand finally clicks into place. Way of the Wind is no longer a theory, it's real. A gale in his right hand, a tempest in his left. The moment the curve and straight line intersect, the path opens. Ilsang notices the change in Dokja. Dokja moves like a ghost, his fist crashing into Ilsang's face with devastating force. Time seems to slow as the impact twists Ilsang's features. His body shoots backward, violently scraping against the ground, smashing through debris. Ilsang smiles, brushing off the blow. He stands tall, unaffected by the attack. He notices the technique and speed, recognizing it as something the wolves use. But it doesn't impress him. Instead, it amuses him. Meanwhile, Dokja, deep in thought, finally realizes something. He's not a regressor, not someone who's good at fighting. He doesn't rely on strength or talent. He's a reader, and that's his true strength. He recalls the confusing phrases that once puzzled him: tempest in the left hand, storm in the right. The way of the wind opens where the straight and curved meet. Back then, it sounded like nonsense. Now it makes perfect sense. Ilsang's mocking tone shifts, and his smile grows wider. He reveals a dark truth that he killed the king of the wolves. Ilsang vanishes using Blink, his teleportation skill. Dokja quickly understands. Ilsang isn't running, he's searching. He reappears in a new spot and casually walks toward a small group of people. He picks one out and asks for their name. The man barely reacts before anything can happen. Dokja sprints through the city, moving with incredible speed. He tracks Ilsang down and leaps forward with a flying kick aimed at his back. Ilsang blocks it with ease, a flick of his wrist enough to stop the attack. He parries the blow without breaking a sweat, and a new pressure builds around him. His 24th seal breaks and he becomes even stronger. He looks back at Dokja and grins. The strike didn't hurt him. If anything, it's amusing to him. Dokja lands, stepping back, feeling the weight of the battle. His heart pounds, and he curses under his breath. He arrived too late. The way of the wind alone won't finish this fight. It's just a support skill, too limited. Dokja knows he needs more, but activating that extra power will take time. And he needs someone to buy him that time. Suddenly, something crashes down from the sky, fast and precise. A figure descends, landing with a brutal impact, creating a crater in the ground. Dust and debris explode, and a shockwave ripples through the street. In the center of the crater, Ilsang is pinned down, a heavy boot pressed to his head. Standing over him is Jungyuk. I hope that you liked today's video, and if you did, hit that like button as today's goal is 1,500 likes. Comment next part down below for the next part. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. You can also join the channel to support me financially and watch videos before public release. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.